Is it okay for guys to rib each other and criticize each other and it's okay, but if we ribbed him about his hair, his gut, or whatever, it wouldn't land?
Men are naturally on guard with each other. They come at each other as warriors. They have their shields, and that's fine. They're prepared for it. What they want from us is to be able to let their guard down. What they want from us is to be able to be seen as the loving, caring, generous person that they are, and not be in a battle, and to be admired by someone they admire, and connect physically, emotionally, spiritually. And I've talked to them about it, and they don't really like it, even from the guys, like to be teased about their hair and their gut and whatever, but they didn't give their heart.
How is it okay for guys to...
All right, welcome again to Social Distillation, the submarine still of the internet, where we attempt to drop the beat and pour white lightning straight onto your brain. What are we talking about today, Samuel?
Well, obviously, we're kind of on the same path we've been on, and thinking about things like cross-sex mind reading and stuff, and that was a very good example why, men can jab each other, but at the same time, it hurts, especially when it comes from your partner as a female. Well, it probably hurts if you're a gay male and it comes from your partner. And what we know from the data is lesbian women are the worst pairings. They have the highest divorce rate and they have the highest abuse rate. So, this is something that I think a lot of women don't understand. And I said it, I think it was 2 episodes ago, but she pointed it out kind of in that statement is, if you say something dumb to me that went too far, I punch you in the face and then we shake hands.
Yeah.
Right. But if my romantic partner says something to me that hits me below the belt, I can't sleep for a week. Right. It's a different game because I can't punch her in the face and then we shake hands.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so we fight differently, and us men are weaker against that fight than we are against the fist fight.
I hadn't even thought about this, and then rewatching that clip just now, something that popped into my head was, I don't even remember if it was on his own show or if he was on with someone else a while back, seeing Jordan Peterson talking about this as this is one of the difficulties in navigating intersex relationships in the workplace, or even just in politics, academia, whatever, is guys don't know how to deal with women because we're so used to dealing with each other. And you are the fairer sex, women and children first. We don't know how to fight with you, I think was the word he used. We don't know how to fight with you because when we fight with guys, it's totally different, and you don't want us to fight with you like that, and we don't want to fight with you like that.
Well, and this is one of the big debates too, as we're looking back in hindsight, when we integrated so many things with male and female, was everybody uses the term misogyny. But there is a big debate now that how much of it was they just started treating you like the other guys. They started treating you like they treat each other, which is a different fight because we're very hierarchical. And actually a saying in the locker room is, if you're the one nobody messes with, you're the one nobody likes. Because that's how we measure each other up. We measure each other up by jacking with each other. And
well, even if you are like uber Minch, top tier, you mentioned that, it reminded me of a clip of The Undertaker and Mark Henry laughing so hard they couldn't talk about Owen Hart, apparently, which is sad because what a waste he was in the WWF, because apparently he had a ludicrous sense of humor. He was the one who would play ribs. He was the one who would play practical jokes on everybody.
He's also the one that broke his neck, right?
Yeah. He was the one that had the fall from the zip line. And they were laughing so hard they couldn't talk. And you would think, why would you do that to Taker? Because Taker was the guy who was so respected in the locker room that if there was a fight between two wrestlers, like a real fight, like got in it,
Mm-hmm.
you would go to Taker and he would settle it.
Mm-hmm.
They would take their issues, they would take their problems to Taker, and he was the judge. He would settle it. And Mark Henry is freaking strongest man in the world. I don't remember who it was I was listening talking about. They were sitting on a bus somewhere and someone had blocked them in, and the guys were trying to, staff people were trying to figure out whose car it was and get it moved. Mark Henry finally got fed up, got out of the bus, picked up the car and dragged it out of the way. And then got back on the bus like nothing happened. And all these wrestlers, giant dudes, are all looking at him like, what the heck did he just do? How did he do? Because this was not a small car.
Yeah, no, he was
But
he was a strong man by trade before he was a wrestler.
exactly.
And
Point.
I think he was the first person at the Arnold Classic to do the axle raise.
I think so.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. No, he had a number of records. Um, but point being, even those two guys, Owen wasn't afraid to pull a joke on them. Owen wasn't afraid to, risk ticking them off, but getting a good laugh. And they're in hindsight laughing so hard they can't even talk because
Mm-hmm.
that's how much they loved and respected each other. But it's the point being that Allison Armstrong was making there is, but it's different.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, and that's the meme. Maybe I'm gonna find it for the cover here. The thumbnail is the young boy that doesn't know how to interact with girls. He says, "Sorry, I roasted you. I was trying to flirt."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's there's a part of that that never really goes away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So and
You just get better at it over time where
mhm.
you can like soft entry into it and everybody
And
likes the
the
soft entry. Yeah.
this leads us to the main thing I wanted to talk about because this came up again a few weeks ago when I was talking to my son about it. I was asking him if now that he's graduated, if he's had time to get back to reading and where he's at, what's going on, and what he thinks. And he's near the end of Knife of Dreams, and somehow we got to complaining about Rand's girls. Um, for the and I was proud papa moment that he was complaining about the same things we complain about. Is that Elaine and Avienda are just kind of there, and they
Hmm.
don't seem to have a relationship. And as a young married man, that makes me feel good that he recognizes this. And again, this is why stories matter. And this is why, oh, it's just a children's story when people defend, crappy storytelling in, you know, the sequel to The Last Airbender was awful. The live action adaptation was awful. Oh, it's just a children's story. Children are the ones who need stories the most because they're the most impressionable, they have the most to learn, and you can't teach with a lecture like you can with an example. A story will teach you so much more and with so much more depth than just me giving you a lecture. And he recognized that no, Min is the real relationship because she's the one who's there.
Hmm.
And the reason it's not just that she's present, she's there because, as she says when she finally gets back to Rand, I'm not leaving you again. You need me, and I need to help you. And when I was thinking about this, there's an interesting contrast there of what makes that so important to Rand, to the man, because he had other people there for him. But again, it's not the same. Even other women. That was basically Moraine's point of view was I am going to help you do what you need to do. Except she had a come hell or high water because it's important, because what you need to do is important.
Hmm.
But Min is doing it because she cares about him, the man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that was he needed Lan for the duty is heavier than a mountain and
Death is lighter than a feather.
death is lighter than a feather because he was destined to die for his role, right? So he
Uh-huh.
needed that father figure, but he needed the comforting woman
Mhm.
as well. And the world needed Elaine to do her job and be connected to the savior of the world. But that was for her. And Avienda needed him to help her grow to what she needed to be. But Min never was going to anything. She was just there. She not just there. She was always trying to nurture and comfort him the whole time.
Hmm.
And that was the point of the whole video we just watched, right? She was always that thing that grounded him.
Yeah.
And that's what we need as men. Because if I work in a factory for 16 hours and I come home, I'm gonna name a great movie for this for Cinderella Man with Russell Crowe. When the scene where he gives his food to the daughter
Yeah.
and the wife is comforting him and she's trying to help him in the whole process. Was it Renee Zellweger?
I think so.
Yeah,
You've brought it up a couple times. I really need to sit down and watch the movie because I've only seen
it's
clips
one
of
of
it.
the best movies I've ever seen. But their role together is exactly what you're talking about.
Hmm.
So if you want a movie version of it, watch Cinderella Man. He's just trying to support his family, but that comes with costs. And just like we talk about introverts and extroverts, how you unwind and how you recharge, us men need that partner to recharge. I mean, we can get it through friends, but it's not the same.
Hmm.
We need that partner to recharge. And if you're the partner that's basically adding stress to him when he comes home, it's not going to work or he's going to die young.
Pull up
There,
that other clip. I think this is. I wasn't sure when we were going to
okay.
do
Yeah,
this, but
yeah, yeah.
I think
No,
this is a
this is good.
perfect time for that, because there's.
What podcast is this? Because you sent me both of these.
Yeah, I can't remember. I don't know if it's Alison Armstrong's or if it's someone else of that she was talking on. Uh, but there's a see,
Oh, yeah, finish your
I
thought and
recognize
then
that. I
yeah.
recognize that person. I can't remember what her name is, but
It says The Quiet Take.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's
okay.
just the clip channel that pulls from
Well,
other
I want to give
people.
them credit is why.
Yeah,
So I'll put it in the comments. I'll put it in
yeah.
the description.
Once if I remember her name, I'll point it out. But I had heard this guy. I had heard this guy before, but I'd never seen him. So you knew who it was,
Adam
and
Lane Smith. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and you've brought him up before, and he has a really interesting take here on that supporting role and
Hmm.
what that means and why it's so important.
Yeah, and I'm going to preface this with he also talks a lot, and we're talking from the masculine right now.
Hmm.
He also talks a lot about how men have to understand how women recharge as well.
Hmm.
So he's a very good follow, and you're going to get hit. We're talking the masculine today, and the comfort that we need from our partners. Maybe next time, maybe it's a tease, or maybe someone does it better, talks about the other side of the story. But
women and this art of being a wife, what would you say are the common mistakes that women make?
The very biggest one.
Yes.
Men don't biochemically respond the same to I love you as they do to I respect you. Men are aware that women can.
okay, so I'm gonna expound upon what he just
Yes.
said a little bit because we women respond mostly to oxytocin, which is a chemical released in your brain that causes you to bond to your child, causes you to bond to your lover, uh, and it also can cause you to be mama bear, right? So that is the number one chemical in female brain. Vasopressin is what we respond to. That's the one that causes you to be a good teammate on your baseball team. It's the one that causes you to be a good provider in your family. It's the one that causes you to, walk on the street side. And if you don't get that, you're not a good man. Okay? It's the one that causes all of those things. So
Mm.
we have two different chemicals that we respond to more positively. Now, men can have oxytocin bonds. That's why cuddling after sex is great. But at the same time, we respond more positively to doing stuff together, whereas women respond more positively to the bonding after you've done something.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's why sex is so important, because we get the vasopressin from the sex, and then we both get the oxytocin from the laying there together and being together and present afterwards. So that is I'm just that's one example. That's one. It could be
Mhm.
doing the dishes together,
Mhm.
right? It could be any of those things. So I'll continue now.
Love a yappy little purse dog that they have no respect for. Men are aware that women love children. Men are aware that women love stupid creatures. Men are aware that women can love something they still pity. I tell women, you want to hear I love you. He needs to hear I respect you. We know that when a woman walks up to her husband and puts her hands on his shoulder right here on his chest and looks up at him and says, I respect you, we know that his system floods with testosterone, a surge of it, and he has an overwhelming protective instinct that grows.
For women in this art of being a
Okay. It her name finally hit me. That's Lila Rose, the Lila Rose Show. She
Okay, let me
is.
write that down so I can put it in there.
I think she at least came to prominence in the conservative movement as primarily an anti-abortion activist. So she talks a lot about that. Um, but she has a fairly wide range of guests on her podcast. If you want to check that out and get a female perspective, again, that's why I watched those two interviews of Dr. Deborah So, is because I wanted to see what was a female interviewer going to ask and what was her thought process in these things. Um, anyway, but that pairs so well with where we started with Allison Armstrong, and then you bringing up Min and why she is such a fan favorite and why she's such a good example of this dynamic, because she instinctively gets that simply because she cares about Rand. And you can't overstate that, because she says it herself, not only to Rand but to others, of, no, you care about making sure he does what he's supposed to do. I care about him.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's why she stands up to you like Hadwin.
She's the one that convinced him that the prophecy that he was always looking at, that he was going to die, wasn't the truth.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one that said, "You don't have to die. You can do this."
Mm-hmm.
That was one of her biggest roles in the whole.
And he, from his perspective, in the last couple of books, he, you know, Jordan left it a mystery of exactly how it happened, what happened, but you can infer that Rand somehow figured out how to live through it. He knew it was a small chance,
Mm-hmm.
but he wouldn't have even been looking for that chance if Min hadn't planted that seed of, hey, you can be pessimistic, but don't be nihilistic.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you used the right word, nihilistic, there, because I think Robert Jordan probably was a big Nietzsche fan, because that whole storyline was the staring into the abyss,
Yeah.
and and I think he thought the blood on the rocks was him dying, but she convinced him, no, you just have to put your life on the line. And there's a huge difference between
Mm-hmm.
those two things. That's why our young men join the military, right? Because they put their life on the line for their home.
Yeah. Well,
Eh,
it's what separated the American soldier from, the biggest example would be the
the
Japanese
Russians.
soldier.
No,
Well,
okay, yeah, the biggest, yeah,
Russians
the
too, but
zeros, yeah.
we were fighting and this is talked about in memoirs from surviving Japanese soldiers, and then from I just brain farted on his name. I've got it up on my shelf here, but a Japanese historian who was a boy living through the war, grew up to become a historian, and then wrote about it as both a firsthand account and academic. And they talked about how shocking it was that that the American soldier was a professional and he
Hmm.
was punching a clock and working a job. The Japanese soldier was a fanatic. And if you
Hmm.
look at the casualty rates, you see what that results in. It's one of the reasons I loved Godzilla Minus Zero so much, is because they pop culture, for the first time that I'd seen, if anyone has watched more Japanese stuff, let me know if it's been out there. But all the anime and movies and things that I've watched, there is this kind of disturbing fatalism and victimhood when it comes to World War II and the Japanese conduct, and a little bit of kind of what some people in the South did of whitewashing the history of it to make yourself feel better. They actually addressed it of we were nihilistic, we were fanatics, and we literally killed ourselves. We almost suicided an entire nation.
And yeah, no, and you made a very good point. We haven't talked politics in a while, but we have the war in Iran right
Mm-hmm.
now. And I went to a bar yesterday. Was it yesterday? 2 days
Mm-hmm.
ago. Yesterday, and they're Lebanese refugees from back in the revolution way back then. And something came through. One of the people in the bar said something about Iran, and they were like, "Good, you cannot negotiate with these people because you can't."
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a death cult, realistically, at that point. At least the people in power, not all the citizens, but at least the people in power. It's a death cult, and Japan was the same way. So when we look back and we try to, evaluate things, no, we don't want to nuke two major cities. But at the same time, would it have ended
Mm-hmm.
had we not? And it's sad to say. I hope the better angels of our nature come through. But at the same time, these are people from that area that know the people that are saying, you can't do that. That's why we're here. And yeah, how do we get on this topic?
Nihilism versus
Nihilism. Yeah.
pessimism.
Yeah.
You know,
Nihilism
you
versus,
can have a
yeah.
healthy dose of pessimism, but if you cross that line into nihilism, you are
Well,
going to create a
a
self-fulfilling
healthy dose of
prophecy.
healthy dose of pessimism is the path to wisdom, because you jump in with expectations that you want, and you see the bad side of it, which is the pessimism, and then you work through it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's wisdom right there. That's a
Well,
that's a healthy relationship.
that's Rand's entire arc.
Yeah.
He spends so much time fighting against the abyss, and then he embraces the abyss and just falls into it.
That's why
But he's
what is
able
it
to climb
what
his
is
way
it
out.
Douglas Murray that says it's not that you like Nietzsche that's a red flag. It's what parts of Nietzsche that you
Yeah,
like.
exactly,
No,
exactly.
but no, Nietzsche was he was a broken man.
Mm.
And when we talk broken
Literally, he
people,
was
he I mean
physically ill. Yeah.
he possibly, we don't know because we don't have medical records like this, but he possibly had syphilis from when he was a child. And I mean, if anybody knows anything about syphilis, that's a miserable life. And he, what did he live till, like he was 50, somewhere around there?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
So he spent 40 years in misery, and he went back and forth between positivity, negativity, and I think he settled on, life sucks, then you die, right? And yeah, that there's truth to that, which we have to acknowledge, but at the same time, we don't have to live that way.
And I
And that's what Min represents. She was the positive
mhm,
part of his life. She was also the philosopher too,
yep.
right? And that was, I think, Jordan's putting in of Nietzsche, because his work was very reflective of what was the philosopher that they were working with. Geld?
Um no shoot. It's gonna bother me. Um yeah, it wasn't easy for anyone who's read some of these really deep philosophers. Um it- it's tough going sometimes because they're kind of on another level. And you see that when she first cracks open those books is
Hmm.
she's, Rand is kind of teasing her because she's her face is all scrunched up and she's kind of scowling at it as she's trying to work through it because she knows there's something there and it's something important and she knows I can do this to help you. You don't have time for this and frankly you don't, that's not how your brain works, but I can do this for you.
Yeah,
And she
but
puts in the
even
work.
I really think he drew that influence into that scene, because I'm thinking because your screen lit up. I'm thinking you're looking up the name.
I'm
Uh,
trying to find it. Yeah.
yeah, but he in his letter to her was almost word for word something Nietzsche said about one of the girls that he wanted to marry. Was I'm trying to do all this stuff, but you distract me because of your beauty. And I really think there was a big influence there. But at the same time, we can learn from that. Go back to the beginning scene we just put in here. That is what grounds us as men.
Oh, that is first of all, it's Herod fell.
Herod
Fell
fell.
was
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
So, um, I actually wanted to thank you for bringing us back there because I wanted to talk about that as well. Is one of the reasons they have such a strong relationship, but also that she has such good insight into Rand the man is that Min does kind of rib him sometimes.
Hmm.
Sometimes. Very, very rarely in front of others. And her ribbing is never emasculating. It sometimes seems like it, or he might feel like it is, but she's just
No, it's
popping that
grounding.
inflated
It's
ego.
grounding.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's
Yeah. When
grounding him.
when
She's
when he
reminding
when he
him, hey,
gets
you're
above
human.
himself. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Hey,
Yeah.
I don't care how big you get, you're still human.
Now,
Um,
can I go into the downside of that?
yeah.
Because I work with professional athletes, and I've probably worked with 30 professional athletes, and four of them, their careers ended because they were being successful, doing their thing, playing on the big stage, and they got with a girl, and she got with the person because they were the athlete. But then at some point in the relationship, they wanted to him to prove to her that she was more important than the game. And so his game suffered. And he lost his job. This is four times. I can at least say four times. He lost his job because he was spending more time proving she was more important. And then after he lost his job, she was like, "Oh, you're no longer the professional athlete," and left. So there is a downside to that, and we are weak. We are weak to it.
Yeah. Because we desperately want that connection, that
Hmm.
relationship, and to make you the priority.
Well,
This is
and this is the problem with relationships is because okay, so I'm going to speak from the masculine again. You women should understand you can have both.
mhm,
You can have both. I will work my ass off and I will love you. But if you choose one over the other and you pull me in a direction,
you're gonna have neither.
then either I'm going to leave or I'm going to be a loser on the other end. And you can
Yep.
have both. Those four athletes could have had their career and the woman if we all just agreed on it and realized it was a partnership, not a one-sided relationship.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
what do you mean? Prove to me that I'm the most. You're why I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
so it reminds me of something that I've
A
mentioned
man, a
before.
man with a woman that loves him will crawl through broken glass.
Yep. So
And yeah.
I've mentioned before. My wife said something in teasing that I used as an example of uh she wants your time, he wants your body.
Mm-hmm.
Is um she was teasingly yelling at me as we when you get old you know torture each other. That's your love language, and you have fake arguments just because. But and she said, at least I don't love you just for your body. And I shouted back, well, I wish you would. um and I kind of wanted to revisit that because of what we've been talking about the past few weeks. And hold on a second. Let's unpack that a little bit more because for a lot of people, no, that's serious. That's a thing. That's something that comes up. That's a point of friction. And yes, you can have a guy that wants you just for your body, and that's not a good thing. That's not a good man. That's not a good partner. That's not a healthy
But it is
relationship
still part of the equation.
any more than if a woman loves a man just for his money. That's not a good thing. That's not a good relationship. That's not a good partner. Okay. But, you know, I was listening last night. I was listening to Dr. David Buss, someone you've brought up a lot a
Oh,
couple weeks
one of
ago.
my favorite, yeah, one of my favorite
Uh,
authors. UT Austin.
mhm.
His lab has also out of it is William Costello, Date Psych, Alexander, Kate Psych, I think is Alexander's girlfriend. They're all out of the same lab. Amazing follows. So go to them.
Um, and if you follow the Trigonometry podcast, he was on a few weeks ago.
Yeah, yep.
I'd heard you
That was a
mention
good
him,
one.
and
Yeah.
I've seen people post, his work and things he has said. I will say he's a little hard to listen to because he's like RFK light, in the way he talks. But
Well, he's a professor. I mean,
exactly,
yeah.
he has kind of a raspy voice, and he has this kind of methodical way of talking. But he is very professorial, and he
But
brought
The
this up.
Evolution of Desire is one of the best books ever written. So, and that was
Exactly,
his,
and
yeah, yeah.
that was where they were starting on that Trigonometry podcast, and he made the point of, yeah, of course there are gold diggers, but that doesn't mean someone looking for a successful man is a gold digger, because you need that successful, driven, not just successful, but someone who you can see the potential in as an achiever, as someone who can provide and protect.
Mm-hmm.
Just, on the male side, yeah, we value beauty. We
Mm-hmm.
value the female form. We
Well,
love that.
and what he probably, I think he said it, but I don't think he made it emphasize is we value beauty because we value youth and fertility.
Hmm.
Because as men, we want to have children.
Hmm.
And that's the main thing. And so that's what we look for in a partner. Now, as females, you want somebody who can take care of your children. That's why you value money and stability and all of those things. And you actually select for someone who is protective and stable in a man. So I mean, we have evolved each other over time,
Hmm.
and yeah, that's uh, I had a so I got an A+ in this class, by the way, social psych, and Dr. Jennifer. We went back and forth a lot, but I guess I'm charming, and we went rounds. But she brought up the debate between Dr. Buss and I can't remember the name of the social psych that he was debating with 30 years ago when he first wrote Evolution of Desire. But here's where statistics can go wrong. They took his work and they said, oh, but most of this was culturally mediated in these places because this culture did this culture did this thing, da 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 da. And she failed to say the counter response to that was, well, cultures adapt to the different environments they're in. And we had that debate in front of everybody, and I still got an A in the class. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Uh, adapt, but adapt as, I'll bring up one of our favorite.
Cultures develop around our biology. That's the
Exactly.
whole
That's
point.
exactly where I was
Yeah.
going. Is one of our other favorite philosophers, Bruce Lee. There's an interview of him saying there's only one way of fighting, the human way of fighting.
Yeah,
You know, and that,
unless you have a third leg or a second arm.
unless some
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
alien
yeah,
comes down with
yeah.
extra appendages and whatever. No, it's we
Hey,
have
hey. Sorry,
we
the
have these
dog. Oh.
we
Charlie, come on.
we
I'm
have
gonna
these
bring
two
Charlie up here.
appendages,
Come on, Charlie. Come on.
and
Come
that's
here,
how
boy.
we fight. So now,
He's already like 50 pounds.
good
Look at this
gosh,
guy. Oh my goodness. Hey, this is Charlie. This is my boy. Okay. Now pull the blinds down.
All right.
There we go.
So stop letting him on your lap. That she's gonna grow up like your other idiot dogs who don't realize they aren't puppies. And
Exactly. Yeah.
they're literally bigger than my wife, and they try and climb in her lap, and she can't say no.
Oh,
And then she gets
Penelope
crushed.
sleeps right here, and Charlie sleeps right here. So,
Bruce Lee, yes. So
Bruce Lee, yeah.
you can look at it's one of the reasons I love the martial arts is because it's so interesting to see the differences and the similarities across. I mean, for crying out loud,
I can give you a great example with Chinese martial arts, with wushu, because the North and the South have completely different styles. So the South was more grounded, but they were also shorter and heavier set, where the North was very tall. Was very tall and lanky, and that's the more aerobatic type style. Yeah. So just a little bit of geographical difference changed the exact the way they fought. Now, so you look at like someone who is in Sub-Saharan Africa versus someone who's in Germany. Yeah, you're going to have different clothing styles. You're going to have different requirements, and different cultures developed around that. And we had a huge explosion of that. And I'm trying to remember the timeline. I think it was about the time we had the written word. So it was about 3000 BC that that there was a strip around the world where the temperature changed everything. Mm-hmm. And so people who were under a certain place gravitated one way, and it was about the latitude where we are here in Texas. And people who were below it went one way, and people who were above it went exactly the opposite direction. So biology created culture.
It's one of the things that makes the Wheel of Time so real, as we've talked about, was RJ's ability to very quickly flesh out a culture, a person, or people.
That's why the show didn't work.
And make them feel like actual humans. Exactly.
Yeah.
Those weren't humans. Those were never real people. Those were never real places. That was all. It wasn't just, I griped about the cheapness, how it looked cheap, and that's something I've been griping about shows all over the place. I recently started rewatching Stargate SG-1 just because, and got annoyed of this show started in the mid-late 90s, and it looks better than a lot of stuff now. And I don't know why that is, but it drives me crazy. But it's not just that it looked cheap. It seemed fake, because you just look at it and you go, that's not a real culture. That's not a real town. Those aren't real people. Whereas you could have someone very alien to us, the Sanshin, and he was able to show you very quickly, there are these stark differences, but also there's a lot of similarity.
Well, look at the first 3 Star Wars movies versus Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah.
Right? It was toys in front of a camera, and it looked better than the CGI that they used to bring it out.
Yeah. But the point being, your point about temperature shifting human development, and
we started wearing more clothes because we migrated north. Yep. I mean, and we started actually developing cultural values about covering yourself because we were wearing those clothes.
And you see that culturally, where the fragmented nature of Randland, of that continent, where they were never able to solidify, ever, except for that very brief period under Hawkwing, Alexander the Great style, just 30 years, then poof, gone. Whereas for whatever reason, it's just kind of teased of how they managed to do it. They're able in Sanshin to create an empire that's ludicrously sized. Because I think if you look at the map, Sanshin is like North and South America.
Yeah,
it stretches across the equator.
It's the Russian Empire. It really is.
That's a better. It's just take the Russian Empire and rotate,
which is like what, 17 time zones.
Yeah, it's ludicrous. So actually, that's probably a better way to think of it. It's kind of a mix of the Russian Empire and, you know,
But also
Byzantium.
they had a very communist. It was the USSR, is what it was. It's a very communist culture.
Because you have forced all of these
Yeah.
disparate peoples to mash together, and you can
And
see
we
how.
have a fan isomorphic that has told
Yeah.
us that it is, you know, St. Petersburg, and what's the other big, if you're not in the metropolitan Russian area, which is just a small part of it,
Mhm.
you are an afterthought or you are a tool.
Mhm.
And isomorphic has told us that in our comments. And if you're still listening, you know, comment again to give us more details on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you, you can see how that evolved. You can see
Hmm.
the steps that led to Russia becoming Russia. You can see the steps that led to Sancha becoming Sancha, and you can see that actually, as much as they're appalled by, you know, the way people are sometimes treated like property in Sanchin, is it all that different than the way the High Lords of Tyr treat the peasants?
No, it's
It's
actually better. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
in a lot of ways it is a distinction without a difference.
Hmm.
So
Well,
that's what makes.
you got a caste system versus a socialist system,
Mhm.
and both of them are bad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Um, and so you can also therefore see how connections can be made because, oh, I guess we're not that different after all. There are some stark differences in particular issues, but as people, we're actually not that different after all.
Well, two things, and I'm going to go to Sapolsky's work here, and I had no idea we were going this direction, but two things that stress us out more than anything else, but also can relieve stress more than anything out, are predictability and comfort.
Mm.
So if uh, uh, if I work at a remember when we worked for the little time we worked at the what was the Mercruiser?
Mercruiser, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that makes Mercury outboard
Mercury
engines,
outboard
yeah,
engines. Yeah, and my job for 8 hours a day was to put the same four stickers on the
yeah,
same thing.
yeah.
It was incredibly boring, and but I could predict what I was doing that day, and I had a paycheck that was predictable at the end of the day. So there is a stress relief to that. And as a business owner, you lose all of that because you could have a client. I've had a client pass away. You know, it's a sad thing from a human standpoint because someone you work with has passed away, but also it cost me $600 a month, right? So I had a client blow their leg off because they pulled a gun out of a duffel bag that someone had put in there loaded, and that we got through that one, but at the same time it created a lot of stress. And his stress was his leg was blown off, and my stress was how do I make this person as good as possible in there. So predictability and comfort are huge on the stress levels, and socialist societies provide predictability. The Shanshan society
Mhm.
provided predictability and comfort and
Well,
security. Yeah.
that brings us back to where we started with Min and Rand, because on the micro level, and this is why we we've spent so much time harping on these things and not talking politics, because you can't shift something as big as an entire culture, and not even a nation, because we're talking about the weirds. The Western world in general is all trending in this direction. You can't move an entire culture until you move without moving individuals.
Hmm.
And so you want the culture to shift, then shift yourself and shift your personal direct relationships. And
Mm.
that's where Min and Rand are another great example of that, because, you know, obviously he's an outlier because he's an
He's
emperor
saving
and
the
the savior
world.
of the
Yeah, yeah,
world.
yeah.
But again, where we started here, he would not have been able to do that if he hadn't had her.
Mm-hmm.
She exerted her influence where she could, which was to Rand the man and not letting him forget that he's a man, and then also giving him that what was the terms you used for Ballsy? Predictability
Predictability and comfort. Yeah,
and
yeah.
comfort. That's what she was. No
Mm-hmm.
matter what happens, no matter what he had to go through, he knew he had her, and he knew that she would comfort him, help him, be there for him when he's alone with his thoughts. And that's why she's the fan favorite. And you know,
Well,
I
and we did this in the cold open in the last one. Us men need women
mhm,
because this space, and I'm pointing at my head if you're just listening, is typically not a good place because
yeah.
we're fighting nature, right?
Well, exactly, as we are striving and stressing, and we are pulling all these loads on
Well,
ourselves.
and I know women are doing that now too because we're more integrated
Mhm.
and the workplace is different and everything. But at the same time, we have 100 and something thousand years of evolution
Yeah.
to be a certain way. And if we don't understand it, we don't have awareness, then it's going to be we're going to have these struggles.
All right. Well, that segues us to a sadder example of what we're talking about here, which
But a
is
sadder but more interesting
yes,
example. Yes.
because last week when I teased that I wanted to revisit Wheel of Time relationships in light of what we've been talking about the past few weeks, the first two to pop into my head were Min and Rand and Perrin and Fail, but you brought up Melindra and Matt, and I was like, I wasn't thinking that,
Which
but
is very sad and actually hits close to home for me because we'll go into Melindra first, right? She was a very broken person that chose a bad route and fell in love with a man who was good to her. And not only was he good to her, he was everything she wanted. And she could not get out of that pattern. And of course, we have a supernatural example with the Wheel of Time, but we see that in the world today.
uh-huh.
And you I'm trying to think of a good example of a show. 56 Days is a good show if you haven't watched it. But she was in a pattern that was destructive and evil, realistically. But then she fell in love with a man that she was supposed to be hurting. And for those that haven't read the book, just go ahead and Google it or whatever. But uh, and ultimately, she had to go through with her past and she ended up dying because of it. But Matt loved her. He truly loved that woman. He probably loved her more than he did Tuan.
Certainly at the point we leave them, yeah.
He
You
did, he killed her defending himself, and he carried that through the rest of the series.
one of the most poignant scenes in the whole series, and it's a big honking series, is the way Jordan writes that scene. That he's literally on instinct. He flings the knife at her,
And
when he senses
and he
danger,
tries to grab it in
and
the
he's
mid. In,
trying
yeah,
to grab it out of midair,
yeah.
knowing he can't, knowing
Hmm.
it's a kill shot, and he's already, he's falling backwards, but he's falling off a cliff in his mind
Hmm.
because he's fallen into someplace dark and it's gonna hurt.
Hmm.
And he knows it. And the way RJ writes that is so powerful. It is quite the kick in the gut, but also so instructive on who Matt is, on who a good man is he would let her kill him.
Hmm.
That, or at least risk it. Now he's savvy enough in
Yeah, but we
savvy
also
enough martial
react.
artist that he
That's
probably
the
could.
thing. Yeah, we also have
Exactly.
instincts.
Hmm.
So yeah, when you point a gun at us, we're gonna pull the trigger ourselves. We're gonna pull our own Colt 45, right? It's but at the same time, we don't want to, and we hate ourselves for it. All we want is the opposite.
Hmm.
We want the person that we would pull the gun for you.
Hmm.
That's what we want. We would Yellowstone for the Yellowstone fans in the audience. I think there's a new show and it's all about the guy. I can't remember his name because I've never watched the show, but and Beth. I know her name because everybody talks about her. He fights for her and she gets him in fights. That's the whole point of their relationship.
Hmm.
And we would rather that than her fighting me.
Hmm. Yeah, that's I mean that's the whole point of what Adam Lane Smith was talking about.
Hmm.
But then also what Alison Armstrong was talking about from the female perspective was, hey, don't you want someone who fights for you? Don't you want someone who's willing to do that? Well, then
Well,
treat them
and also,
like
what do
you
you want?
value that. Yeah.
What do you want? Do you want to feel good because someone treats you good, or do you want us? There's a big difference between those two things. Because I can spoil a girl all day long. I can go to the
Yeah.
strip club. I can go to the strip club and hand dollar bills all day long. But I could also go on a date, and that's us having a good time together.
Hmm.
And yeah, what do you want? What do you want?
It's what we talked about when we talked about mate value is what people tend to focus on are those one or two things that are initial attraction. But then if you want something deeper, you're going to have to go deeper. Giggity.
Hmm.
It is, it can't stop there. That can't be all what it is, or else you are going to end up in a very shallow,
Okay,
to
so
your
so
example of
yeah,
spoiling a girl. You're just the arm candy, the gold digger, the trophy, whatever,
hmm
until you get bored with each other, until one of you
it
gets
could it,
bored,
it could be
and then
an
off you go.
abusive dude that throws money at you, right?
Mhm.
It could be the girl that has sex with you all the time, but also has sex with other guys, right? It could be any of those things. But we are made for, I mean, and there's debate on this. When the polyamory and everything, we've talked about this and we've had go back to those episodes. You can just search it by the name. Uh, we're probably serially monogamous for the most part. Now, there are people who are perpetually single, and there are people who are still with their high school, love, right? But most of us are in the middle, right? We don't want that chaos in our lives.
Mm.
We want to have some stability. Again, back to stress, predictability, right? I want to say, oh, if my girl goes to lunch with her girlfriends, she's going to come back home to me, right? I want her to feel like if I go out with the boys, I'm coming back home to her. What's wrong with that?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons I find Matt and Melinda such a tragic tale
Because yeah,
because
they loved each other
what
for a very brief time.
for all of Matt's positives, and as much as we give him accolades for being such a good character and a good person, a great example, he also has his flaws. Again, why
Hmm.
RJ's writing is so great. And one of his big flaws, especially at that point, he always had one foot out the door with Melindra. In fact, right before the incident we're talking about, he's literally planning his escape. He's trying to
Exactly. Yeah.
sneak away. He's about to ghost this poor girl. And you have to think, to your point about her not being able to escape her past, is hey, dude, if you had been all in, could you have changed her? We'll
Oh,
never know.
that shoot. I wish you had said that before we started this episode because that could be a whole episode.
Well, that may be where we spin
But
off with next time, because
yeah, but no, here's the thing. Every guy gets into a relationship thinking he can change her, and every girl gets, no, excuse me, the other way around. Every girl gets in a relationship thinking she can change him, and every guy gets in a relationship thinking she will stay the same.
mm-hmm.
And it always ends up going the opposite direction. And and she she was the girl with the high body count, if you want to
In
put it in
both
modern
meanings of the
terms.
word.
Yeah, if you want to put it in the modern terms, she was the
Yeah.
girl with the high body count because she had she was a dark friend, right? She was
Well,
the one.
it's
Yeah.
I can't help but think about Dr. Buss, because in the when they oh, which was Francis, when he brought up the term body count, Dr. Buss was like, I started out studying serial killers. That has a whole totally different meaning to me. And so the first thing to pop into my head is she has a high body count on both sides.
Yeah. No. Your past is going to be difficult if you're in a relationship with somebody, especially, I mean, I'm 46 years old and I'm getting in relationships, right, with people who are not young, right? We're not high school sweethearts.
Mm-hmm.
So your past is a consideration. But at the same time, you can make it better. But also at the same time, you have to do the things it takes to prove you're making it better. And this is trauma. This is psychological, right? This is attachment theory, all of those things too. If someone has an attachment issue where they're avoidant, we'll use that as the first example. If they're avoidant and it's struggling in your relationship, you can still love that person if they are taking the steps to be less avoidant, and you can
Yeah.
give them time. But if they're not taking those steps, then at some point you have to give up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a horrible thing because love is a
Especially
weird
if you
thing. Love,
realize, especially if you realize they're dragging you down. You know,
it's not even
that
it's not even that. It's that you're dying inside because of it.
that yeah, that too.
That's the thing.
Well,
If
this is why we love Varen so much as a character. I
Oh
think
yeah, because
is her arc.
she was the bad person. She was Melindra that did the right thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
or a character you've brought up before, that another great, well written side character, Carradine,
Carradine, yeah.
because we actually get inside his head. We
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 get
never
inside,
get a
yeah.
perspective
And
from
he was
Melindra.
trying to change.
He he didn't want to be,
A
you
dark
use the
friend anymore.
example
Yeah.
of he was in the mob and he wanted out, and you don't lead the mob, so he was stuck. Well, he thought he was stuck. Varen figured out, no, I'm going to find a way out, and it
hmm
probably won't work,
And she saved the
but it's
world.
worth trying. Yeah.
She saved
That,
the world in that she is probably one of the top three characters that saved the world there. We got
yeah.
Rand, we got Cadsuane and Varen probably are the top, or more Moiraine, so top four.
Hmm.
Yeah. Top four people that saved the world
Yeah,
in
because
that series.
Egwene was necessary for Rand to succeed, because you needed a united,
But
strong
Egwene
tower.
wasn't Egwene without Varen.
But Egwene would not have been able to do that if
Yeah.
Varen hadn't given her the literal textbook on how to purge the Tower of the Black Ajah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
and and so and I think the boy, this is another deep topic that could be a whole episode of something I've been wanting to kind of rant about, but I'll just kind of tease briefly. Is Varen illustrates the difference between self-interest and selfishness,
Mm.
because they all three of these characters who were dark friends, and we know Varen and Carradine, and we suspect Melindra didn't really want to be one anymore, but felt trapped. And they all had a self-interest in getting out.
Mm-hmm.
But Carradine and Melindra, I would say, were more selfish because they weren't willing to take the risk of what it would mean to try and get out. Varen did. Varen didn't put her own comfort above what was best. And she put herself at risk in order to get out. And ultimately she kind of succeeded because she did get out. She did relay the information that she wanted. And as you say, top four in helping save the world because Egwene couldn't have done what she did without Varen. So she pursued her self-interest, but not in a selfish manner, and that's what let her succeed. Melindra, back to relationships, is much like how Matt always had one foot out the door and was always, keeping an eye out for that exit. Melindra was also never all in because she had this past that she wouldn't let go. I was going to say couldn't, but no, that's what Varen shows is it's going to be really hard. You might not like the results. It might not turn out the way you want it to, but there is a way out.
Yeah, well, Matt's a good example of cognitive dissonance, is because he always said he wanted one thing,
Mhm.
but his personality, his emotions, everything always led him in the right direction, right? And dissonance again is the difference between what you say and what you feel, right? It's the pain you feel in that difference. And he kept feeling that pain and he kept doing the right thing. So that's why I liked him as a character so much. Rand, on the other end, kept fighting that,
Mhm.
and that's where we get his character arc. Is the reason he went through what he went through is because he fought it and he went against it. Uh, Perrin, on the other hand, was just a stable dude until something got between him and his girl.
Mhm.
I got kicked out of a club one time, uh, not that long ago, actually, and it's because we had been drinking a lot and everything, and I had probably been overserved. But I was waiting for the girl I was with to get out of the bathroom, and the bouncer said, "You need to leave." And I told him, I actually said it nicely the first time. I said, "I'm just waiting for my girl, and then I'll leave." And he grabbed me and started pulling me out. And I got a little bit belligerent. I didn't do anything bad. Nobody got arrested or anything. But I was like, "You got between the guy and the girl,"
Mhm.
and that's what happened with Perrin. And it's like you gotta know these things. And
So I want to wrap up my thoughts here on this with something you said when you we first started talking about Melindra and Matt about women getting in a relationship
it's
to
two
change.
chapters that are almost the two best chapters in the whole
Mhm.
series. Yeah,
Yes, that well written, but
yeah.
it also illustrates in a way I hadn't been thinking of um, the negative example versus the positive example because um, Min does change Rand,
Mm-hmm.
but how and why is the big difference? Because Melindra is trying to change Matt into something that he's not and doesn't want to be.
No,
Min,
I would say the other side of it is she was changing because of him into something she couldn't be.
but she was still whispering in his ear those things that the
Oh
dark
yeah, yeah.
wanted
You're,
him
you're going to be
of.
famous. You're going to be this. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
we
yeah.
see with the temptations of all three of them, but especially with Matt and Perrin, that and it's especially obvious with Lanfear and all
Oh
three
yeah,
of the
yeah.
boys of,
That's a good
you know,
example of Lanfear. Yeah,
greatness,
yeah.
greatness. You can have
Uh,
greatness. You can have, the whatever you want. That's the Dark One's promise. You can have whatever you want, so long as you don't give a darn about the consequences. And that's what they're trying to tempt them with. Matt doesn't want that,
no, he didn't. No,
but
he didn't.
Melindra wants that. She was
Uh,
trying to change. I think that's the difference here is she was trying to change him into what she wanted.
I think she was trying to change him into what she had to be.
I, I think it's both.
Yeah,
I think,
both. Yeah,
yeah,
both. Both. Yeah.
she had to have that
But
because of
also
her
the
past.
IEL culture, we have to go into that because honor was a huge thing. And he had gained a lot of what G?
Hmm.
Yeah, he had gained a lot of G in what he did. And she was riding on that as well. And she wanted him
Yes.
to accept it, and he wasn't accepting it.
But again, I think it's the difference between self-interest and selfishness is she wanted him to accept it. She wanted him to embrace it and push it further
But
because of
Avienda
what it
did
would
that
mean
with
for
Rand
her.
too.
That's why we don't really like Avienda.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is they're pushing for you to be quote unquote greater because of what it would mean for them. Min
Mm.
is pushing Rand
Ooh,
to be
ooh.
better because of what it will mean for him. I think that's the key distinction in
Okay,
these
so
relationships.
let me go back to I think it's 3 episodes ago when I said it's also nice to have the good thing on your arm as a guy. We're pushing them to be beautiful for our own status,
Mhm.
for what people would say about us. He's got the big bank account. He got the
Yep.
big something else. He's got the big anything. And God, it's just a simple human emotion
Yeah.
that we have to actually be aware of. I think awareness is always the first step. We have to be aware
Yeah.
of.
It,
And
it yeah, I think that is a good example on the male side of, hey, are you trying to drag your lady to the gym because you want her to look better for you, or because, hey, you will feel better mentally and physically if you get yourself healthier, if you or stay healthy, get healthier wherever you are in your physical state.
the
It
answer is it
it
should be
matters.
both. It should be both because
Yes,
we
but
should
that
we should we should be encouraging each other as partners to be the best we can be. So
yes.
if you're the female and you're into the financial support, you should be doing everything it takes to help that man be successful. And if you're a man who is into his partner for physical beauty, you should be doing everything it takes to make her, to support her in that journey.
But I think to be
And it should be
successful,
both. It should
to
be both.
to be maximally successful, I think that self component needs to be a minority. You recognize that it's going to be there because we are all
We're,
egocentric to
we
some
we we
degree.
we have an ego. Everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't
I mean,
don't
we'll go back to Freud.
exactly.
Freud was if 95% of Freud is still relevant today, and I hate that he gets pooped on.
Don't
But
don't hate yourself. Don't beat yourself up because, oh, I'm a selfish, terrible person because I want my partner to be or look like or do X. Okay, no, you're not a terrible person. You're a person. Okay.
mhm.
But I do think check yourself of, am I doing this primarily for me, or is the me just a lesser component? Is the me part just the icing on the cake because it's primarily for you?
Okay, so we're hitting very close to home on discussions with personal people, but helping your friend with their trauma, just say it's a friend that lost a loved one or whatever, right? Helping your friend with their trauma is for you too,
Hmm.
because they'll be a better friend if you
Sure.
help them through their trauma. So you're helping them and you're helping you.
It's also for you because they're your friend. You want to comfort them. You
You
want
want to
them to
comfort
feel
them. Yeah,
better.
exactly. I
Yeah.
mean,
So
I don't know why people don't get this. You're like, oh, you're just forcing me in this direction. I'm like, yeah, because I love you. That
I want what's best for you, and I think this is what's best for you.
exactly.
Is
Yeah.
I now I may be wrong, but I'm not a bad person for wanting what's best for you.
Exactly. Yeah, I may be wrong, but but most times the person from the outside looking in is the one that's right.
It's the reason we have sayings like "forest for the trees."
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And we've had this between us two, We've that's why we're best friends because we come to each other's aid all the
Mhm.
fucking time. And we don't talk a lot about it on this podcast, but it happens. And
Well, there's another. We've thrown a lot of things out there of what we may be talking about next time.
maybe
But
just good friends. Maybe just a
yeah,
good friends episode.
there is on relationships. That's a good. I'm trying to remember who I heard say this. It may have been Alison Armstrong. Um, but this idea that, oh well, men just won't commit. What what are you talking about? Is I had
That would be her. I've heard her say that.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen, I had not seen the affable gentleman in real life in years. And I get a text from my brother out of the blue that, hey, he's moving into a new house and his hip is acting up. He's having trouble moving around. He's got a cane. Um, the VA is wonderful. Um, and, and I'm busy and I can't get up there. Can you help him? And I'm like, ugh, I don't want to. But yeah. And I drove halfway, well, not halfway across the state. Is
Well, what
that's
people don't know about Texas is halfway across the state is more
yeah.
than half of Europe. So,
But I drove a ways. I drove from North Texas to Central Texas, and just
is he
showed
still
up and
in
was like,
Copper's Cove,
"Hey, what do you need?"
Colleen?
Yeah, he's still around Hood. He
Okay.
he stayed in the Fort Hood area after he got out.
Yeah.
And point being is and this was an example that she used is, you know, have you seen the way they are with each other? The men commit. That we really commit. When we go all in, we go all in.
Yeah, I think
It's
things are clouded by the fact that we have so many fatherless children right now.
mm, mm,
Yeah, because those actually are relationships where you never asked the man to commit. Those were when you gave it up.
yeah.
And if you ask the man to commit, he's there.
You know,
And
back
and you find the man that does commit.
back to our examples in Wheel of Time is Matt didn't commit to Melinda, but Melinda really didn't commit to him either. Look what happens when he finds someone to commit to that is
Hmm.
that is worth it and wants it and reciprocates it, and he goes all in big time.
Twice.
Yeah, yeah.
Thailand was first.
It, look what he does a couple of times when someone is threatening Tawan, or later, when he thinks someone is threatening Tawan, when he
Well,
thinks Tawan is in danger.
we'll go back to Perrin. He committed so much he almost ended the world
Yeah.
because he was so committed that he dropped the ball on his job.
Hmm. And that's why we need you, ladies, because you're the one that's supposed to remind us, hey, dude, don't do that.
Or yeah, or just not fuck up like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what Min was busy doing with Rand, and
Yeah.
and then when Fail got taken, Perrin didn't have that voice, didn't have that
Hmm.
shoulder, and look what happened to him.
Hmm.
That's kind of what Elias was trying to help him with is, bro, you've got to take care of yourself.
Hmm.
Because but
Yeah,
it's
but I'm going to say something with that because this is something that was in the cold open in the last one with the cowboy. Remember,
mm,
we need our partners. I'm not going to say woman. I'm going to be neutral here. Partners, because here, if you are trying to be something, is not a good place, and it's not, especially if things are going wrong. And we need that comfort and that companionship that goes with that. And if we don't have that, I have plenty of professional athletes that are players, quote unquote players, and they're miserable.
mm,
They are absolutely miserable because they don't have that comfort and they don't have that companionship. We need it.
Hmm.
This is something I've learned because everybody who's listened to the last few episodes, I just finalized the divorce, right? Going into it, I said I would never do it again. But I changed my mind because I need it. And it's frustrating. It's tough. You know, everything's going in a million different directions, but at the same time, that's what I will be looking for. And
Well, what was it? Wasn't it one of your coaches who said choose your hard? Is that where you got that
choose
from?
your hard. Yeah, choose your hard. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. And that's where I'm going to end. I think because obviously I said too much for YouTube, but no, but it's true. It's who was it that said, what's Jordan Peterson? Just speak the truth, right? You know, at least don't lie, right?
Mm.
And it is true, and it's been tough, and it's been rough, but we need it. We fucking need it as men.
Yep. Absolutely.
And yeah, and maybe it's a midlife crisis. I don't know, but we need it. I haven't bought a red Corvette yet, so
All right. Well, that's the next step then. All right. Well, we will see y'all next time where we will ramble about this kind of stuff a little more. Not entirely sure which direction we're going to go because we threw out a lot of stuff. But if anyone has a thought of the things we threw out there that you want us to expound on more, let us know in the comments. And
yes,
we will do
please,
that next
please,
time.
please. We got like 40 new followers, so that was cool. And we love you guys, and we will be back.